I'm a licensed professional counselor, and this is my mental health analysis of the Brendan Banfield case. These are my speculations. What might lead someone to build an entire scheme around deception, pulling in outsiders just to mask personal conflicts? This question sits at the heart of many cases where relationships turn destructive. From a psychological standpoint, such actions often stem from deep-seated avoidance of direct confrontation, perhaps tied to fears of loss or exposure. Stay with me as we examine the behaviors that could signal these underlying issues, backed by the evidence that's emerging right now. As the trial unfolds in January 2026, new details from witnesses are shedding light on the events. Defense attorneys have been questioning digital evidence, and the defendant himself is expected to take the stand very soon. This comes after jury selection wrapped up on January 12, 2026 in Virginia. Prosecutors have been presenting a narrative of careful planning, while the defense argues the story doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Brendan Banfield, a 40-year-old former IRS criminal investigator, faces charges of aggravated murder in the deaths of his wife, Christine Banfield, age 37, and Joseph Ryan, age 39. The incident occurred on February 24, 2023, at home in Virginia. Authorities say Brendan had been involved in an affair with the family's au pair, Juliana, starting around August 2022. This relationship appears central to understanding potential motives. Infidelity can sometimes point to unresolved emotional needs or a pattern of seeking validation outside committed bonds. In my speculation, this might reflect a mental health indicator like difficulty with intimacy or dependency toward impulsive decisions that escalate conflicts. What happens when hidden desires clash with family obligations? Behaviors like starting secret relationships could hint at compartmentalization, where a person separates parts of their life to avoid guilt. Court documents reveal that Brendan and Juliana allegedly discussed ways to end his marriage without divorce. Prosecutors claim this led to a plot involving a fetish website called FetLife. They say Brendan created a profile using Christine's photo to lure Joseph Ryan to their house under the pretense of a consensual encounter. This level of organization suggests a calculated approach, possibly driven by a desire to control outcomes. From a mental health perspective, such planning might indicate traits associated with high-functioning manipulation, where someone believes they can outmaneuver consequences. It becomes a red flag when logic overrides empathy for others involved. Joseph Ryan arrived at the home that morning, unaware of the setup. According to testimony, Christine was stabbed multiple times in an upstairs bedroom, suffering 34 wounds. Joseph was shot downstairs, with the scene staged to look like he had attacked Christine, and Juliana shot him in self-defense. Initial reports treated it as a home invasion gone wrong. The plan appeared to rely on an impressive level of optimism regarding forensic science. Blood evidence later showed inconsistencies, like Christine's blood on Joseph's clothing, in ways that didn't match natural transfer. And investigators noted that the bedroom showed signs of a struggle, but forensics suggested staging. This raises questions about the psychological drive to cover tracks so elaborately. What compels a person to tamper with a scene after the fact? It could be the fear of vulnerability, where admitting fault feels intolerable. Juliana initially told police she acted alone in shooting Joseph after he harmed Christine. She claimed Brendan was out with their young daughter at the time. Phone records and location data contradicted parts of this. Over months, Juliana's story changed, leading to her arrest in October 2023 on second-degree murder charges for Joseph's death. She later pleaded guilty to manslaughter in October 2025, agreeing to testify against Brendan. Her testimony in January 2026 described how Brendan allegedly planned the killings to start a new life together. The shift from protector to accuser highlights dynamics of influence in relationship. We might speculate here that the motive involved elements of coercion or dependency, which is common in unbalanced partnerships. How does one person's dominance shape another's choices in high-stakes situations? The mental health indicators here could include susceptibility to persuasion, perhaps rooted in attachment issues. Brendan's background as an IRS agent involved handling complex investigation. He would have known about evidence trails, yet the case includes digital footprints like searches for how to stage a murder or other related terms. Prosecutors presented emails and messages showing discussions about eliminating Christine. This points to a premeditation over months, not a sudden act. In psychological terms, extended planning often signals a detachment from emotional repercussions. It's a potential red flag for antisocial tendencies, where goals justify means without regard for harm. What underlies the choice to involve an innocent third party like Joseph? The speculation here is a link to objectification, viewing people as tools in a personal narrative. Joseph Ryan was a software engineer from Springfield, Virginia, with no prior connection to the Banfields. His family has spoken out, disputing claims he was aggressive, emphasizing that he was drawn in unknowingly. The impact on victims' families underscores the ripple effects of such actions. Christine's loved ones described her as a dedicated nurse and mother. From a victimology angle, the psychological toll on survivors includes grief compounded by betrayal. Brendan was arrested on September 16, 2024, after a grand jury indictment. He has pleaded not guilty, with his defense claiming Juliana manipulated evidence and lied to secure a plea deal. During the trial, body camera footage showed Brendan emotional at the scene, wiping tears. This contrast with the alleged planning invites analysis of emotional regulation. Can someone compartmentalize so effectively that they show genuine distress post-event? It speculates on dissociative patterns where actions and feelings disconnect. The au pair's cross-examination revealed struggles to recall details about the fetish account. Defense attorneys highlighted inconsistencies in their statements over time. This back and forth creates suspense in the courtroom, with experts testifying on blood splatter and digital forensics. A blood expert for the defense argued the scene wasn't staged, as prosecutors claimed. As someone who spends far too much time thinking about these cases, even I found this twist in testimony surprising. It reminds us how perceptions shift with new information. What role does denial play when facing mounting evidence? Psychologically, it might serve as a defense mechanism to preserve self-image. The prosecutors allege Brendan wanted to avoid the financial and emotional cost of divorce, and court filings mention he expressed a wish to be rid of Christine. This avoidance could also be rooted in deeper fears of abandonment or failure in relationships. Mental health indicators like this often trace back to unmet needs in earlier life stages. Although those specifics here remain unknown, it's still speculation. Searches on Brendan's devices, including topics on poisons and undetectable killings. This research phase suggests a methodical mindset, weighing options before finally acting. In my speculation, such behavior might reflect obsessive rumination, a red flag for anxiety-driven control issues. And it's intriguing how intellect can fuel destructive patterns. Juliana testified that Brendan instructed her on what to say to the police. She described practicing the story multiple times, including a dry run at a shooting range. This preparation indicates a partnership built on shared secrecy. Psychologically, it can point to codependency, where one person's vision dominates. How does a shared deception bond people, even in harmful ways? It might create a false sense of alliance, masking underlying power imbalances. The couple's daughter, then 4 years old, was present in the home but was unharmed. This fact adds a layer of complexity to motives, as protecting family might conflict with actions. Prioritizing a new relationship over existing ties could signal attachment disruption. Mental health perspectives often explore how past experiences shape parental decisions. Defense witnesses have included digital experts questioning the context of messages. They argue some evidence was cherry-picked to fit the prosecution's theory. This debate over interpretation mirrors how we view behaviors in therapy. Context matters. Without it, red flags can be misread and misinterpreted. What if the overconfidence in one's cleverness blinds someone to obvious risk? This is yet another reminder that confidence and competence don't always travel together. As the trial progresses, Brendan's potential testimony could provide direct insight. His lawyers say he'll explain his side of things, challenging the affair's portrayal. Observers note his calm demeanor in court, contrasting earlier emotional footage. This poise might speculate on adaptive coping or emotional suppression. The case has drawn media attention for its unusual elements, like the fetish site involvement. Joseph's mother has publicly grieved, calling for justice beyond assumptions. The victim impact extends to psychological trauma for those left behind. Families often face prolonged stress from trials, affecting mental well-being. Prosecutors wrapped up their case after presenting physical evidence, including knives and guns matched to the scene. And the gun that was used was registered to Brendan. Defense moved to dismiss, arguing insufficient proof, but the judge denied it. Now, with Brendan possibly testifying, the focus shifts to his narrative. Taking the stand risks exposing inconsistencies, and psychologically it might stem from a need to control the story personally. How does betrayal in close relationships erode trust over the long term? For victims like Christine, the ultimate deception carries profound implications. Juliana's plea deal includes a recommendation for time served plus probation. She expressed guilt in the testimony, saying she fled because of conscience. This remorse could indicate internal conflict, which is a mental health sign of moral injury after participation. It's a pivot point in many collaborative crimes. The timeline shows the affair escalating from summer 2022 to February 2023. The timeline shows the affair escalating from the summer of 2022 to the February 2023 incident. By March 2023, Brendan and Juliana were living together. Photos from later show them as a couple, including at Disney World. This quick transition speculates on rebound dynamics or denial of grief. What prompts such rapid moves after loss? It might link to avoidance coping, pushing away painful realities. Investigators uncovered the FetLife communication spanning for weeks. Joseph responded to the profile, arranging the visit. His phone showed no awareness of danger. This exploitation highlights vulnerability in online interactions, a modern psychological concern to this day. As digital lives intersect with real ones, mental health risks like isolation or misplaced trust can increase. The trial is expected to conclude soon, with closing arguments following the defense's case. A verdict could come by late January 2026. Until then, new details emerge daily, like debates over blood transfer mechanics. Experts testify that patterns suggest movement after death. This forensic puzzle adds to intrigue, forcing us to piece behaviors together. In my analysis, it underscores how actions reveal inner states. What if the drive to escape a situation overrides ethical boundaries? Speculation here points to extreme narcissism, where self-preservation trumps everything. One of the unexpected elements was Juliana's admission of a Netflix deal discussion post-arrest. Defense used this to question her motives. This revelation startled the courtroom, highlighting how media influences cases. Psychologically, it might reflect opportunism amid chaos. Overconfidence remains one of the more reliable predictors of forensic difficulties. In this instance, multiple layers of evidence unravel the initial story. As we consider the motives, financial aspects surface. Divorce could have cost Brendan significantly, given assets and custody. One aha moment comes from the connecting the dots. The affair discussions to website use to a fatal day. It forms a chain of escalating choices. Each step builds on the last, showing how small deceptions can snowball. Psychologically, it's a pattern of reinforcement. And unexpected evidence included a shooting range visit where they practiced a scenario. This rehearsal level surprises even seasoned observers. It speculates an obsessive preparation, a mental health indicator of anxiety masking as control. Financial searches on devices showed interest in life insurance. This pragmatic angle ties to motives beyond emotion. Blending money and relationships can amplify stress, leading to irrational solutions. And as the case evolves, the facts will guide us. The ongoing trial may bring more clarity soon, but for now, it prompts reflection on relational health. Here's a story that's a lot of complexity to it, and yet it's very simple. Somebody who wanted to create a new life. They were dissatisfied with the life they were having with his former wife, possibly didn't want to go through the legal ramifications and how long that takes. Sounds like he wanted to have and start a new life right away, and that's what he tried. So what did you think about this case? Were there any elements that stood out to you? Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe.